What's going on, family? How y'all doing? Listen, I wanted to talk to y'all about part two. This is part two of curiosity over comfort. This is going into the realm of awakening and into the realm of possibility, y'all. All right. So, we had talked about previously, if you have not, go watch that video on curiosity over comfort. This is going to be part two, where you start to become curious. You start to come into the realm of awakening and possibility. And I wanted to talk to y'all about what that actually looks like. So this is to the point. This is the point in which everybody comes to that moment where they're like, all right, there has to be more than this for my life. There has to be more than this for my life. This is when curiosity and your belief that there has to be more for your life, it starts to open up your imagination to new possibilities. Okay. This is where you're in a state of being that's becoming more receptive to what God is trying to pour out into you. So this is a posture that God can actually work with because your internal limits are no longer hardening your heart and restricting your mind from what he wants to instill into you. So the characteristics of coming into this realm of awakening, y'all, you start forming vision. You start having this hunger and this passion that rises within you. Your identity even begins expanding. Your hope for more in life, it starts to return, which lights you up with this level of fire and this enthusiasm that makes you want to take action. This is the beginning of your life changing. So when these characteristics activate, the brain and the spirit are both waking up. And this is what you want to happen. So number one, vision forming. When vision begins to form, the prefrontal cortex, it lights up. This is the part of the brain that handles imagination, long-term planning. It handles future orientation, meaning, purpose. So when you're in a state of survival and comfort and you're just focused on surviving or maintaining that day, guess what? The prefrontal cortex kind of diffuses and goes offline. And this is why people end up just living for the moment, or they end up just going through the motions of life, but they have no intention of planning what the next 5, 10 years of their life is going to look like. So this is when they're hoping for change, but then 5, 10 years goes by and they're like, yo, like, am I still in the same place I was back then? You got to be intentional about this. So as your vision sharpens, what's happening is dopamine is increasing because dopamine is released. You think about achieving something, or you think about the reward that's going to come from achieving something. Dopamine is released in the brain, the feel-good neurotransmitter that motivates you or drives you toward a certain action. But when you see a meaningful future ahead of you, this is why vision gives people energy, because spiritually, this is the moment that heaven actually begins broadcasting direction. Your spirit becomes aware of it, and that excites you in a way. And this is also the reason why people who are just living day by day, living, working a job they don't want to live, fulfilling a destiny or a life that they never wanted to fulfill, they're living a life that they know was not meant for them, and they know that there's more for them. This brings them to a level of misery and depression to where dopamine decreases. And as a result, even their joy, their enthusiasm, their passion, their fire, it just goes out. And they end up burnt out, tired. They end up just hating life. They end up miserable. So when you begin being curious and your vision for your life starts to form, all of these things, your enthusiasm, your joy, your excitement, your meaning, boom, it kind of infuses you with this energy that makes you feel alive again. And it's a very powerful, it's a very profound thing, y'all. This is why you can have somebody who's just living day by day and then somebody who's living in purpose. And the person who's living day by day in survival, they'll look at the person who's living in purpose and be like, why you got so much energy? Why you always so happy? Well, it's a it's a completely different mindset and way of functioning, y'all. All right. So number two, hunger and passion rising. Now, in Job chapter 32, verse 18 through 20, I want to apply this to curiosity, awakening, and neuro-spiritual activation, y'all. It says, for I am full of pent-up words, and the spirit within me urges me on. I'm like a cask of wine without a vent, like a new wineskin ready to burst. I must speak to find relief. This is awakening happening in real time, neurologically and spiritually and identity-wise. So I'm going to break this down for y'all. I'm going to break these scriptures down for y'all because it's very profound. Number one, when it says, I'm full of pent-up words, this turns into curiosity awakening. This is the moment where the mind and the spirit awaken, and neurologically, this is the prefrontal cortex, right? Activating vision. This is the default mode network in your brain, sparking creativity. This is the dopamine system shifting from comfort into exploration. You actually start to feel like, man, maybe there is more for me. And it changes, it shifts you out of that survival mode, and it shifts you to start to want to discover and explore new things. So spiritually, it's the moment that heaven begins stirring revelation, prophetic insight, ideas, direction, and now your inner world is becoming too alive to stay quiet any longer. When you activate vision and you start to explore these different things, you start to have an awakening. You're gonna go through a season and a time, right? A threshold where you're being challenged because you want to step out in faith, but then all of these other fears are rising up. Well, I've never done this before. What if I fail? What if I get embarrassed? What if people judge me? And that is the fear threshold that you have to cross through to end up changing and shifting your behaviors into execution. All right. Number two, the spirit within me urges me on. This turns into hunger and passion rising within a person. This is the internal push that comes when your identity actually starts expanding, y'all. So neurochemically, this is dopamine, which equals your drive towards something, noradrenaline, which is your passion for something, and then your serotonin, neurotransmitter or neurochemical, that is hope returning to you. Listen, once your hope returns, boom, your actions and your everyday life is going to change. This is the neurochemical cocktail that creates energy, it creates enthusiasm, and an urgency which most people feel like they've lost. I'm not motivated to do my content anymore. I'm not. I'm not really motivated. Like I don't really even enjoy doing the things that I used to be passionate about. It's because hope deferred maketh the heart sick, and the drive, the passion, right? All of these neurochemicals they've decreased in the brain, and so people are just like, man, I I don't even feel like it's gonna work out anymore. And so what's the point? That's the point in which a lot of people come to, and God is saying He wants to reactivate this thing in your life. All right. So spiritually, this is the Spirit of God activating you in your next realm, y'all. He's pulling you out of comfort. He's pulling you out of settling for less and into the curiosity of awakening. He's pulling you into the curiosity of awakening, y'all. Number three, like a new wineskin ready to burst. This turns into what? Identity expansion or identity expression. New wineskin equals new identity capacity. So now neurologically, this is the VMPFC center of the brain, okay? This is the identity center of the brain. I'm gonna say that slowly. The VMPFC center of the brain. This is the part of your brain that's responsible for self-concept, what you believe about yourself. And now, when you're in awakening, it's expanding its evaluation of who you are and what you're capable of. This is where God starts to rewire what you believe about yourself. And this is where He starts to rewire what you believe you're capable of. He wants to remove the inadequacy, the feelings of I don't deserve, the feelings of I'm not ready. This is where He begins to remove all of that. And you start to come into competency. And you're like, I was born for this. I'm a child of God, right? Royalty is my inheritance, and I can execute on this, this, and that because I know God is going to back me. And I know even if I'm not ready right now, I can be equipped to be ready. So you cannot hold your next season with your old identity. So curiosity is stretching that. Vision is starting to enlarge you. Awakening is transforming you. So you're becoming someone who can no longer fit inside your previous limitations. Someone speak over yourself and say today, I'm breaking out. I'm breaking out and I'm going higher. It's time to ascend. Number four, the part of the scripture that says, I must find relief. I must find relief. This is the next dimension of creativity in unlocking expression. I've been talking to y'all a lot about finding your flair, finding your distinction, finding what makes you unique, and actually going out and being brave enough to express that thing and be yourself. This is the moment that your creativity becomes uncontainable, y'all. That's why there's tension, there's quarreling. That's why there's turbulence in old relationships. It's not because you're doing something wrong, it's because your capacity is increasing. And so everything around you is reacting to the pressure of your expansion. So most of the people you grew up with, they can't handle who you're becoming. They subconsciously fight against it. So It's not that you're breaking down. It's not that you're doing something wrong, but you're just outgrowing. And you need to continue to express that no matter how much it shakes up the environment around you. Let it be shaken up. Let people's anger and demons get stirred up. God is pushing you to new dimensions. Now watch this, y'all. The hunger that you feel, it's like a dopamine surge mixed with noradrenaline. Dopamine equals drive. Noradrenaline is the intensity, the passion, right? The explosiveness of you executing. So together what they create is they create focus, they create momentum, emotional and spiritual fire, which is like your passion. It actually increases your stamina too. It increases a higher willingness to actually act on the thing that God has for your life. Where some people will be like, I know God has this for me, but I'm scared. It increases your willingness to actually boom, 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 execute. This is why passion feels like energy returning to the body. So it's spiritual, but it's also psychological and neurological. And this is the point that we want to get to, because once we get to this point, this is where we're going to have a supernatural energy that infuses our personhood to we're able to outlast everyone else around us. So spiritually, hunger is the sign that your spirit is responding to a divine invitation. And then your curiosity awakening, going back to this thing, just to brush up on it once again. The curiosity, like we had said before, it activates the brain's exploration network, especially the hippocampus, which is responsible for memory, imagination. You have the nucleus accumbens that's responsible for motivation and reward. The default mode network that's responsible for creativity and insight. So when you're curious, it literally opens up your creativity. And this is where God's imagination, his brilliance, his prophetic insight, his genius begins to fall upon your brain and your mind. And this is where, man, you have insight, you have ideas and innovations that are like blowing you. You're like, man, God, do you really have this for me? This is pretty big. This is going to be global. This is going to shift nations. And you have to overcome that fear and start to execute. So the brain, y'all, it's searching for these new patterns. It's searching for these new possibilities. And spiritually, when you're curious, like I told y'all before, this is the posture of someone who is coming into their season of awakening. The moment that your spirit senses, man, there is more available to me. How do I tap into this? Identity begins expanding, like I said. So identity expansion, when we said that it activates the VMPFC, it's the part of the brain responsible for self-belief, self-evaluation, confidence, personal meaning. So not only do you have the belief that there's more for you, but you actually start to build confidence. When you build confidence, it builds your execution bandwidth, y'all. Your ability to see something or hear something that God said and be obedient to it. So when identity expands, the VMPFC, the identity part of the brain, it's sending stronger signals to your nucleus accumbens, which increases dopamine. It creates confidence, courage. It creates clarity, more willingness to act. So spiritually, y'all, identity expansion is when heaven begins revealing who you are, not who you've been. And now the hope for more, it starts really permeating throughout you. It's like resurrection within your neurochemistry. All of this begins to increase serotonin, stability, and optimism. The dopamine, again, the drive, motivation, oxytocin, which is connection and trust, which when you have connection and trust, this is a very important thing, because you're now trusting God, and you're also trusting, okay, God, I'm making myself vulnerable again. I'm putting myself out there to actually connect with other people, to actually form new partnerships. And it can be a scary thing because of you being betrayed in the past. But once you come into this, your ability to connect with people and put yourself out there again, that's when the favor and the opportunities are going to actually start to open up. You can do certain things by yourself for so long, but it's going to come to a point where you're going to have to network. Okay? And that's just something I wanted to throw out there. So all of this coherence, y'all, it creates this enthusiasm. And this is what we want to be. We want to be enthused every day. God wants us to be excited about our purpose and where we're going. He wants us to have creativity. He wants us to be mentally and emotionally strong. He wants us to also be sensitive to his spirit. So this neurological expression, this is the explanation of what spiritual awakening looks like. And the reason it feels so supernatural is because it is supernatural. It's just a different way of explaining it, because when your brain enters this coherence, your spirit is actually entering Kairos timing, which is Like I told y'all before, it's the divine timing of heaven. This is where you tap into your eternal purpose. This is when ideas start to just come to you faster. All right. This is when opportunities begin to appear. Everything in reality starts to reorganize and arrange itself for your advancement. Energy starts to rise, clarity sharpens, time begins to collapse, acceleration begins. And this is the moment when your mind and your spirit begin to synchronize and you begin actually operating at the speed of your calling, y'all. This is why people say things like, man, I feel alive again. I feel like something has awakened within me. I feel like I'm accelerating because you are. Somebody say, I'm accelerating in this season. God is bringing me back to life. And as I operate in curiosity, as I explore and discover new things, I pray that God would give me more execution bandwidth. Give me enthusiasm, oh God. Awaken all of these things within me that are going to drive me to where I'm supposed to be at. Listen, I hope this teaching could help y'all on today, y'all. I'm going to come with more like this. Um, Once you can really tap into this, you are going to become somebody that people are not able to compete with. You are going to be in a whole different realm, a whole different operating. It's not even going to make sense to people. Or you're going to be a different type of animal. People are going to demonize you. They're going to be jealous of you. They're going to be intimidated by you because you're going to be operating in a way that other people look at and they're like, man, how does he do it? It's going to be crazy, y'all. Get ready for it. It's about that time. Come on, let's get it.